What's up, everyone? This is another great conversation that I had with Pat that I really feel like this is going to bring a lot of value to you. We decided to talk about imposter syndrome, financial thermostat, and many other things in between. What are your limiting beliefs? Keep that in mind and then watch this video. Make sure to check the links in the description for my Forex funds where you can get a 5% discount code. You can also check FTMO and my trading EAs. You just have to check them in the description. It really helps out the channel. And without any further chit chat, let's go into just the chat. Peace. What's up, everyone? I hope everyone is doing well today. We brought the much loved here on this channel, Pat Ballooney, back into the channel to talk about some other psychology stuff. Check his links in the description, not only both his Instagram, also his website and YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to that. And today I wanted to talk about a couple of topics that were very, very important and I see happening a lot. So I want to give the example of limiting beliefs at first, which is this is already directed to Pat, which is here in Portugal, the minimum wage is like 700 euros. And like, let's say that the average wage of the working class is like 1,000 euros. If you make 1,000 euros, that's great. And it's funny that when people leave university, if they are earning more than 1,000 euros, they are like, wow, like I'm blessed. And
Mhm.
here in trading, we are in a whole different ballpark where we have prop firms, we have private investors, we have like the potential returns are so big. And it kind of can set an underlying tone of limiting beliefs of like, well, I shouldn't be making more than $1,000. Like this is very good. Maybe well, I'm making 1,500, but I should be making 1,000. So
Mhm.
that invisible wall that you hit once you start earning more, it didn't happen to me because it didn't happen to me at the 700 euro mark because I was able to cross that, but I feel it happening a little bit more now where I'm kind of hitting a plateau in terms of returns. And I would love to know how to work around limiting beliefs, how to identify the limiting beliefs, and how to break through because we are in trading. Like you get a prop firm account, you can make multiple like 5 6 digit returns with a prop firm account. Like how can you transcend those limiting beliefs that were imposed on you by maybe your country's minimum wage, how much your parents are making, and so on. That's what happens to a lot of people. Your parents are
Yep.
making $1,000. Oh, but should I be transcending whatever they are doing because we put
Yep.
them on a pedestal and it's like fuck,
Mhm.
I have to go over that. So
Yep.
how can we tackle these limiting beliefs, identify them, and transcend them?
Yep. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me back on, Raf. I really do love doing interviews with you, and I think they're very well received by your audience as well. So I'm glad to be back, first and foremost. Um, I think it's such a great topic, this particular topic on limiting beliefs. We're going to talk a little bit more on financial thermostat and that type of stuff. I've been very lucky to have uh, experienced this myself, worked with a lot of clients on this, had sort of studied this when I did my psychology and human behavior work. And I'm going to share a story. I'm also going to share a very practical exercise that people can literally do to break through limiting beliefs, to increase them, the financial thermostat, all that type of stuff. A very powerful exercise if it's done correctly. So I'll share that little exercise at the end. Now, the story is actually a very successful trader who I was very fortunate to have been, mentored, did a few one-on-one sessions with a few years ago. Um, and this individual is probably the trader that I personally know that's trading, up towards the more significant numbers. And they told me a story about, first and foremost, they told me how much money they were making per month, which was a significant amount, six-figure amount of money per month, and it was in euro as well. And then that individual went on to tell me that their father made what would have been a third of that in a year. So if to think about that, their dad was making a third of what they were making in a month. Their dad was making that in a year. So this individual was making 36 times more money than their dad, who, like you said, is a very significant authority in your life. In fact, your parents or the people who play your parent role when you're younger are the two individuals that you put up on a pedestal first, and they almost become sort of a benchmark in your head. So if you don't learn to transcend the beliefs and injections from your parents, you tend not to outperform your parents, if you want to call it that, right? So this individual got some significant coaching, some like very, very high level coaching. And they ended up sharing the exercise that I studied under their coach as well, actually. And this is the exercise that I teach clients now. I teach in my 12-week challenge, but it's on owning the traits of the greats. And it's all about transcending. So first and foremost, the limiting beliefs usually come from injected beliefs. What tends to happen is we inject beliefs from parents, from mentors, from people we put up on pedestals, and that's the source of our limiting beliefs. If we're truly living congruently with what's most important to us, we don't tend to have limiting beliefs. We tend to just be on fire, but it's when we inject certain beliefs from other people that we tend to set limits for ourselves. So the exercise is very simple. It's about owning the traits that we admire in other people. So let's say, for example, there's a mentor out there, or there's a parent out there that you really admire and you really hold up on a pedestal. You really just, that person's amazing. If you continue to dishonor what you see in that individual within yourself, there's not a chance you're going to go off and do the actions and do the things to help you break through that particular standard and go to the next standard. So the particular exercise is you want to identify the actions that you really admire in other people. So for this example that we're talking about, this individual, this trader, took their dad, took all the traits, actions, things that their dad did that they really admired, right? Providing for family, working hard and bringing money and putting food on the table. These are all things that this individual admired about their dad. And what that individual went and did was went and found where they displayed that same action in their own life, in their own form, right? So that's the exercise. Identify the action and then go and find where you display that same action in your own life. The truth is, if you didn't display that particular action and you weren't proud over doing that action, you wouldn't even react to the person that you admire doing it, right? We don't admire in other people things we don't have within ourselves, right? It's our own emotion about our own actions that makes us admire that other person. So the exercises are, I admire this individual. What are the particular actions they do? What is it they actually do? So for example, I listed some before. Then you want to go in and own that trait in your life, own that action in your life. Where do I display that action in my own life, in my own form? And if you do that 20, 30, 40, 50 times, you go to specific moments when you perceive yourself displaying that action that you admire, what you start to realize is that this individual isn't necessarily better than me. They have their own set of priorities. They have their own set of values. The dad obviously had a high priority on providing family food for the family, right? It was a value. And this individual went and owned where they had it in their life. And they realized that it was just two different value systems, two different priority systems, but that individual still had that same action in their life. And then for each of those moments, that individual went back and identified who perceived them, who saw them do that same thing, and who may have admired them for their actions in their form, just like they admired their dad in that moment. So what starts to happen is they start to become transparent, and they realize that other people actually potentially looked at them in their life and really admired them for their own form of that action, just like they admired their dad in that example, for example. And what this starts to do is it starts to take this individual off the pedestal, and then you give yourself permission to say, thank you. I respect you for your form of that action, but there's no chance I'm going to start to inject or continue to inject the beliefs or the standards that you have in your life. I'm setting my own standards. I'm setting my own beliefs. And I really think that's just such a powerful place to be, to say, I respect you, but there's no part of me that wants to be you. There's no part of me that wants to envy or imitate you. I want to live my own life. I want to pursue my own thing. I want to set my own stand. I want to have my own beliefs. Thank you for setting an example. Thank you for doing what you do, but I'm doing my own thing. And I think what that does, that particular exercise does, and I've done this a lot in my life because I found that I had those same things in my life. I had a pretty good sporting career when I was a little bit younger. I had a lot of people I admired in there, put up on pedestals, and I couldn't break through those certain levels because of those things. Same with trading, same now with the mindset business and that type of stuff. There are always people you admire and put up on pedestals. So going in and doing that exercise of owning the traits of those individuals in your life, finding your unique form of that, helps you level yourself with other people, and it gives you permission to just be congruent with what's most important to you. So I completely forgot what your question was, Raf, but to summarize that, if there are particular standards or limiting beliefs, or they're injected beliefs from parents, for example, parents is such a good one. I think parents is 90% of the places that we get our injected beliefs from. Go and find the actions you admire in your parents, right? Hardworking. I did another one with a client in Australia recently, and their dad was extremely hard work, like 18-hour days, and we had to own that. Hardworking, providing for the family, etc., etc. Go and find where you have your own form. Maybe you don't provide financially, but maybe you provide intellectually, or maybe you provide by being a great companion or being very loving to your family. Go and find your own unique form of those actions, own those traits, and then you'll realize there's no need to put these people on pedestals. There's no need to inject their beliefs. Respect them for their form, but you've also got your own unique form. You've brought just as much to the table as they have, in other words. So that would be my little spiel on that. I mean, I think we'll elaborate on this a little bit more as we dig deeper into this particular topic. But those ceilings, those standards come from injected beliefs. I'm going to ballpark. I can't say this is for everybody, but I'm going to say majority of them come from parents. You mentioned the thing with Portugal, Ralph. And going in and owning the things you admire most about these individuals, finding your own form of it, breaks you free from those standards, breaks you free from those beliefs, and it gives you permission to go off and do what it is you love. And it's about not about finding 1, 2, 3 moments, it's about finding 20, 30, 50 moments where you've displayed that same action in your life and who's perceived you doing it. And that really helps break you free. That's a really powerful exercise. But yeah, I've rambled on enough on that. Does that make sense? Have I explained that?
Yeah. So in a way, it's like, okay, these are the people that I might have those limiting beliefs from. So for example, parents, and
Yep.
they have a certain type of standards. Those standards are the ones that we probably also have because they were injected from them. Those beliefs were injected from them. We either by the way that we talk or them just acting out their beliefs and us taking note of it mentally. And
Yep.
then understanding that we are unique in our own way. So uh, thanking them for those beliefs that they have, those standards that they have, and by by consciously being aware of those standards that they have, and us understanding that we want to transcend that, actively working on transcending it. Is that it?
Well, the reason we inject their beliefs is because we've put them up on a pedestal, right? Whenever we put someone up on a
Yeah.
pedestal, we inject their beliefs. It's like in the dating scene, when you first meet a lovely guy or girl, you put them up on a pedestal and then you start to do what they really want to do, right? You inject their beliefs into your life and you start doing what they want to do, right? So the reason we inject the beliefs is because we put them up on a pedestal. The way we take them off the pedestal and honor them as just a human being level to us is by owning the traits that we really admire in them. The reason we put them up on a pedestal is because there are specific traits that we really admire in them for what they've done. Going in and owning those particular actions in our life helps us take them off the pedestal. And as a result, say, I respect you, thank you, but I'm no longer going to inject your beliefs. I'm going to go off and pursue my own path, a path of self-actualization, as Maslow talked about. And a lot of the great psychologists, Maslow, Kohlberg, they all talked about these stages of moral development and hierarchy of things, of human needs. And they all recognize that a lot of people start off by injecting the beliefs of their family and sort of stuck in that level of their family, and they're injecting the beliefs of their parents and then their family. And then maybe if they break out of that, maybe it's school, maybe it's teachers, right? Maybe it's other cultures you're part of. So doing that exercise and owning the traits you admire in your parents and the people around you, and recognizing that you're a unique human being with a unique set of priorities, but everything you admire in other people you have in your own form helps you break through those standards, helps you break through those sort of limits. And then you really free yourself up to set your own standards, to set your own limits, or just keep them limitless. They're going to be limitless. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. It's an exercise on owning the things we really admire in the people around us. It's a little bit more of a deeper exercise. It takes more time. It takes more introspection. But I know people who are really, who are really keen to just level up. They'll do it. They'll go find the moments. They'll go own those things within themselves. And it's a very confidence boosting exercise as well. You realize that these people I admire in my life, I have the same actions in my own form. And that's a self-love exercise, if you want to call it that. I appreciate myself now. I'm an incredible human being. Truth is, everybody is, but people just continue to compare themselves to other people, inject beliefs from other people, and then beat themselves up because they don't live up to the standards of other people.
Yeah. Not understanding that we have our own standards too, instead of comparing it from someone else, just being like, no, I'm unique. This is my journey. So would you say that this can also be applied into trading? Because I personally have come from a community that, well, we would be like, oh, 3%, 5% per month is great. And don't get me wrong, it is great. Now, you go onto other strategies where maybe they have a higher risk to reward, whatever it is, and you start breaking those beliefs of what is actually possible within your trading. But what starts happening is when you start getting those consistent returns, when you start getting those consistent months, consistent trades, consistent way of looking at the market, you start kind of having kind of an imposter syndrome of, oh, wait, I'm not working as hard as I was like 1 year ago. What's going on? Trading is not supposed to be easy. And this is something that happens a lot. Like we see it everywhere. And I personally even say it too. And maybe the fact that I say it just makes it hard for myself, which is we always say trading is the hardest job in the world. Trading is hard, trading is hard, trading is hard. So once trading becomes easy, you're like, wait, but trading is supposed to be hard. Why is it being easy? And you start making it hard for yourself, so that belief still is met by you. You're like, trading is hard, even though it might be easy. You make it hard for yourself because you're like, no, it's supposed to be hard. How can it's that imposter syndrome of you become your own limit too. You set that wall in front of you of, no, this is not supposed to be easy, and you go back into those hardships. And I have a friend that he did exactly this, where he was getting consistent great returns. He had a good strike rate. The way that he looks at the market is very consistent too. And there was a point where he told me, like, I'm not working as hard as I should. Like, I don't know what's going on. Whatever is happening, like, I see the market in a unique way. I'm picking the rate. He's not only picking the direction right, he's also executing right. He's getting greater returns. But not only does he come from the same community that I came from too, where 3 to 5% is great, and all of a sudden he's making like 50 R per month. But it's the fact that it's easy for him, that it's so consistent the way that he looks at the market. It's basically super mechanical. It's like, if this happens, I execute, he does it, he's consistent. But that's easy. Well, he doesn't. What I told him is that you need to look at how hard it was until now. Like, you don't just stumble onto this position. You have to go through the hard process that you know that trading is. So how can we tackle that imposter syndrome too? Because it kind of correlates with limiting beliefs too.
Yeah, it very much correlates with what we just talked about. The key word that was used there is the word should. Right? I should be working harder. I need to be working harder. Should, need, I have to. These are all indications of injected beliefs. Again, if we ever say I should be doing this, I have to be doing this, I need to be doing this, you want to ask yourself, according to who? Where did I get that belief from? So that's really, I mean, it's such a like a annoying thing, you know. One of my students always said that to me. It's very annoying, but that's really the thought process. If that individual came out to me and said I should be working harder, I would ask them according to who? Who set that standard in your mind? Who set that belief in your mind that you should be working harder? And I guarantee it wasn't him, because if it was him and he truly believed that was the standard, he would be doing it. But the reason I know it's someone else is because he's saying I should. He's comparing himself to some sort of external standard, beating himself up because he doesn't align with that. It's exactly what I just said before. So again, I would literally ask him, like, according to who? Where did you get the belief that you should be working harder? Who set those standards? And go in and do the exercise I just talked about before. Find the individual you've injected those beliefs from. Find the things you admire about him or her, and own those traits, own those actions in your own life, and transcend that individual, because it's that individual that's projecting their beliefs into this guy's life, guy's or girl's life. And that's where the should is. It'll be so obvious if they ask that question, according to who's the individual that set that standard of how many hours I have to work, how hard I have to work, right? Could be parents, could be a previous trading mentor, right? And go in and do that exercise. Go and own the traits of that individual. Realize that you don't need to subordinate to their beliefs anymore. You've got all the actions that you admired in them in your own life, in your own form. Break through that. Time to set a new standard for yourself. And then what you give yourself permission to do, Raf, is you ask yourself, what would be the wisest amount of hours for me to dedicate to my trading? Well, if I objectively look at it, all I need to do is come on here in the morning and have a look at the charts for 30 minutes to an hour. If things align with my trading plan, great. I'm gonna put an alert, and I may stay at the charts or I may come back when my alert's set, right? So what you do is, when you transcend those injected beliefs, you give yourself permission to just look at what's objectively true for your trading and set a standard for that, and recognize that any more than that is unnecessary and any less than that is unnecessary. I just need to dedicate however much time I need to dedicate. Now, if on top of that there's a belief that trading is hard, or that trading is easy, or that, these are all lopsided beliefs, in my opinion. I don't think you can ever have certainty to a belief unless it's balanced. Because the truth is, trading is sometimes going to be difficult, sometimes it's going to be easy, right? Sometimes you're going to get into the charts and a trade's going to align with your trading plan. It's going to be so smooth, you're going to execute, you're going to make money from it. And then sometimes you're going to continue to execute, nothing's going to work. So I think everybody watching this, yourself and myself included, have had times in their trading journey when it's been very easy, and have had times in their trading journey when it's been very difficult, right? So if I was to say to people that trading is very easy, nobody would be able to have certainty towards that answer. If I was to say trading is very difficult, nobody would be able to have certainty to that answer, because they intuitively know there have been easy times as well. But if I was to say trading is sometimes easy, sometimes it's difficult, people are like, yep, that's it. It's both easy and difficult at different times, depending on different conditions, depending on how I'm performing. So the best thing you can do with beliefs is bring objectivity and balance to them, right? And if you have a lopsided belief that trading is very difficult, go and find evidence to support why it's been easy or how it's been easy in your life until you bring balance to that belief. Or if you have a lopsided belief that trading is very easy, go and find when it's been difficult to bring balance to that belief, to recognize that trading is both. And at the end of the day, we make it what we want to make it in that moment. It has both sides to it, just like anything. So, I would love to work with this individual just to ask more questions to get clear on what the specific. First and foremost, the first thing I would do is I would hold them accountable to tell me who they bloody injected that belief from, and I guarantee it's someone out there, and would find who set that standard in their mind, go and own the traits of that individual, and then that would probably do a lot for it. And then would objectively look at their trading and have a look. All right, objectively, how many hours a day do you need to dedicate to your trading? And then there may be another thing here, Raf. They may. And then on top of that, go and structure the rest of their life and have a look at the other 6 areas of life. What are you going to dedicate in those areas, and what goals do you have in those areas, and how do you want to empower those areas, so that there's nothing to do with trading? You can dedicate time to other areas of your life as well. So there are a lot of different things you can do, but I think if we're going to go back to the common theme of this conversation, you have to be very aware of whenever you say, I should, I need to, I have to do this. Be very careful of who at the back of your mind is telling you that. Who are you injecting those beliefs from? And on top of that, when you tell other people you should, you need to, you have to, just be aware that you're projecting your beliefs and your priorities onto them. They're a different human being to you. And the other thing is own the traits. Those individuals you admire, those individuals set the standards or authorities in your life. Identify the things you most admire in them. Find where you have that in your own form, in your own life. I think, especially recently, I've been very fortunate to hang around with, and this can maybe lead into more of a financial thermostat type of thing. Hang around with people who are like doing very well, and I think when you associate with those types of people, you come to realize that they're just bloody human beings at the end of the day. They're a human being. They just have a different set of priorities, and they worked very, very hard. But there's nothing they have that I don't. If I go and have a look, really, someone may have $10 million cash in the bank. I don't have that just yet. But I can go and find where I have $10 million worth in intellectual property, and then in my physical body, and then in relationships, and then in my family. I can go and find that $10 million in any form. And then I just need to create a strategy to convert that form into the financial form if I really wanted to. But yeah, I don't think anything's missing. It's just about holding yourself accountable to find what unique form you have it in and take these people off the pedestal. That will help free you up from those beliefs. That'll help free you up from these ceilings that we're talking about. Hopefully that makes sense.
It's so funny that
I talk a lot.
yeah.
I know I talk a lot.
It's funny that you talked about the should, and us as traders, like at least I know that I know a lot of people in terms of trading that we are very much into like productivity stuff. Maybe Gary V, where it's like just grind, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that, just fucking grind. And a lot of people self-impose that on themselves. And I used to do that too, where I was like, if I'm not working, then I'm feeling terrible. And every time that I was not working, I thought I should be working. And it still happens once in a while, just because I love to work, that it's something that I really like. So that's not a problem. But there comes a point where it's toxic, to a point that you should be working based on maybe Gary V's perspective, but not yours. Because if you're constantly working as he says that you should, but you are miserable, it's not worth it. You're making your life hell. So, and it's so funny that you yourself said that even if you are saying to someone else, you should be doing this. No, they shouldn't. They should be doing whatever they want to do, because you saying you should, you are self-imposing your beliefs on them. So in a way, it's like we can give tips or whatsoever, but at the end of the day, those people are the ones that decide for themselves. No, this is what I want to do, and that's it. And if someone says, oh, if for example you would tell me, oh, maybe you could do this exercise, or you should do this exercise, it's like, I probably should, because you are telling me to do this. It's just a tip. I don't have to. If I don't want to, I don't have to. But the fact that you are given, it's also understanding from who I should get these beliefs from. But yeah, it's so interesting to see how the hustle mentality, how everything can get very toxic by self-imposing beliefs that maybe don't make us happy. And yeah, it can be very detrimental.
You've sparked so many thoughts in my head. But yeah, I really love what you're saying. Yeah, I'm guilty of this myself, probably more than anybody out there. But it's very easy to project what you think. I really think when people give advice, they're really giving advice to themselves. They're really giving advice to what in their mind would be best for them. So maybe it'd be wise for me to go back and do everything I'm telling people to do now. Could be a good option. No, going back to this individual before that was making a lot of money from their trading, and I only say they make a lot of money because they're doing really well. Like they know what they're doing. And the first thing they said to me when we jumped on a call was that, and I'm not saying that traders shouldn't do these things. I think sometimes it's very wise to do these things. But this individual said, I don't back test. I don't have a trading plan. I don't ASR. I don't do any review. And to me at that time, that was like, whoa. Like I've never,
Yeah.
all I ever heard in my trading was that you should back test, you should have a trading plan, you should review. And this person who was making more money than any of the mentors out there said, I don't do any of those things. Now, they weren't trying to say don't do those things, but the message they were trying to convey is that you have to start thinking for yourself and you have to have a look at what is best for you. Have a look at your life. What are your goals? What are your priorities? And you want to ask yourself, I've got this set of tools here. What would be the wisest tools for me to use? Now, what I personally promote and what I've seen works with majority of traders, majority of the time, is that I think it's wise for traders in that first 6-month period to backtest just to create a solid edge and a solid trading plan. Now, after that should you backtest 10, 20 hours a day? I don't think so. Maybe some people want to do that, but I don't know if it's necessary. But after you have some sort of, and even then people may argue, maybe I don't want a trading plan. Okay. But I also think it's wise to have some sort of foundational system there, right? So anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that this individual completely shattered the beliefs I was holding in my mind to make me think that maybe what's prescribed out there, maybe the beliefs I had injected, maybe the people I had made authorities in my trading in my life didn't have all the answers. And that's probably true. I mean, I don't think I have all the answers, right? But I think it's just different stages of awareness. And I think people, I'm reading a lot of Emerson now, and this just shows how boring of a person I am, but I'm reading a lot of Rolf Waldo Emerson. He has a great essay on self-reliance. And in that essay, he talks a lot about how people envy and imitate other people, and they conform to groups and beliefs, and they want to fit in. And it's about figuring out what your priorities are, what your goals are, and what are the wisest ways to accomplish those things. A lot of the times, other people can't tell us what the answers are. So I think that, what I'm trying to promote here is be a little bit more free thinking, give yourself permission to take the mentors off the pedestal and find what would be the most objective, most wise strategy for you to accomplish your goals. That doesn't mean you don't backtest. That doesn't mean you don't review. That doesn't mean that you don't not have a trading plan. Those things may be essential for you, especially early on, but think that you're just going to be a little bit more objective for your situation. I had another story, but I forgot what it was, and maybe it'll come back to me.
And it's funny because as soon as you said that, and I know, like me and you, we've been in similar communities. As you said, like, oh, I don't have a trading plan, I don't backtest. I was like, what? I was also like, what? You don't do this, you don't do. And in a way, what we are trying to say is that it doesn't matter. Like both can work. It just depends on the individual.
Yes.
Maybe for
100%.
me, backtesting is key, but maybe for someone else, no. And a lot of people ask me, maybe in the live streams or whatsoever, they ask me like, oh, what are some key processes as a trader? And it's like, oh, okay, you should backtest, forecast, have a trading plan, stick to the plan, whatever it is. But I guess that's not really the case. At the end of the day, for that person, it might be something completely different. So it's very interesting to see some other person's perspective that is very successful. And it's not like that person isn't consistent. It's like, no, he or she made it work like in such a different way where where she's not backtesting, she doesn't have a trading plan, just like our belief says, oh, you should have this. And she's or he's so successful. It's crazy. So
Yep. So
it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see how many different things can work for different people.
yep. I remember getting off that call. I'm like, well, I might keep my trading plan. But yeah, there's some unnecessary back testing that I'm doing here. There's some unnecessary review that I'm doing here, and that I'm getting in at the end of the week, and I'm just beating myself up for no apparent reason. Because I could have took this trade, I could have made this amount. So yeah, I really had a hard look at what I was doing and my beliefs, and a lot of changes were made from that conversation. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, when in my program, Raf, I try and in my 12-week challenge, I try and provide principles as opposed to telling people what to do. I try and say, all right, here's a process you can go through. Here are questions you can ask yourself to become a more aware human being or a more aware trader and make more money in your trading. But I'm not telling people do this and do that. And I think some people get a little bit turned away from that because people want to be told what to do. Some people want to be told what to do. But I personally think is if you have principles that you can live by, universal laws that you can be solid work, and then find what's authentic to you and build something around that, you're going to sustain the journey much longer term than anybody else that's trying to copy or trying to imitate
Yeah,
someone else. So my
yeah,
program to try and help people get to that point where they're authentic, they're congruent, and they have principles that will help them sustain long term. But yeah, I really think that's the best way to teach, to ask good questions. I'm starting to learn that more and more as I go on my journey of life. But I think I was very caught up in, oh, I know this thing.
yeah,
Let me just tell everybody about it. But guess what? It may not be right for that individual. Just because I thought
yeah.
it was cool, it may be completely irrelevant to that person. So I hope I pass on better questions now. I think teaching people great questions to ask themselves is the best gift you can give anybody.
It, it's so funny to see that even you as a trading mindset coach, even yourself, you're still like, oh, I could do this better. So every time we think, oh, that person has it figured out, not really. Like we are all
Mm,
just going through this journey of life, just learning constantly new things. And I don't remember if it's Sun Tzu or it's an Asian proverb that uh, the best master is always going to be a student.
mm,
And this is real for basically everything, be it for trading, where if you don't evolve, then you're probably going to be left behind. In life, it's the same thing. If you always keep your set of knowledge and you think that that's the ultimatum, then you are going to be left behind because things are going to evolve. And it's
yep.
great to see that even from someone that, for example, we if we look up to you in terms of a trading mindset performance coach of, oh, okay, like he knows what he's talking about, also seeing that you have that human side of, yeah, I'm still learning, that kind of
Mm,
puts a realistic expectation on people that, oh, okay, if this person is still learning, then it's normal for me to still be learning, and it's going to happen
of course.
forever. And I don't know if you remember from the previous communities that we've been on, where the mentors would always say, I've become much better since I've started teaching because
Mm,
I just learned so many new things. So even though we are looking up to these people, where those people are also still learning to the day. And if they
yep.
don't, they're going to be left behind. And
Yep.
it's really, really good to see.
Yeah, I agree. I every successful person that I know, a quote unquote successful person that I know, learns, reads, and asks great questions. Um, I think that last one's probably the most important one. They ask such good questions. Um, and you'll probably find that if you're in a room with a very successful person, or at least what I found is that um, they're usually the one asking the questions for whatever reason. They're I think it's like a stage you get to where you have nothing to prove and you're just genuinely curious about finding out more answers. And that's what I'm striving for. Um, I think I've still got some work to do, but that's what I'm striving for. Where you know deep down you've got absolutely nothing to prove, and you just want to be so genuinely curious about other people, ask such good questions, learn about them, appreciate them for who they are. And yeah, I really think that's the next level. So anyway, it's a little bit of a side note, but yeah, we have
you
some.
being
You had to, go on.
Yeah, you being around more successful people, like great traders, you are in touch with the great traders that what we maybe that are watching would regard as successful of trading the six figures, making six figures in a month. That's kind of what
Mm,
we look up to as traders too. You being around those people, it kind of sets the standards higher to you too, where it kind of pushes you forward of, oh, they are basically acting on a whole different level. So if you want to remain with that group, you have to kind of think in the same frequency, which levels you up. Would you say
yep.
that, well, being around those people has really sparked your knowledge of trading too, and even trading psychology? Because I remember you in the last video that we made together, where you asked one of the traders that how did it feel to have a six-figure trade, and he was like,
Yep.
nothing. Like, it's
Yep.
just what it is. That's what I do.
Yep.
He's like at such higher frequency. Do you think that even that experience of him saying it's just what I do sparked something in your mind that made you level up?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's really important to recognize that they're just human beings at the end of the day. It's like uh, they're just human beings. They have their own set of problems. They've got, um,
Yeah.
what differentiates them. I think it's just they just focus on the high priority actions. It's becoming successful traders is very important to them, and every day they just chip away at it. And they've just been doing it longer than anybody else. That's why they're more successful, I think. But yeah, definitely. I think a few things that have happened to me is that I really wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. It's like if you have a very, very important presentation to give that you don't want to mess up, you're going to study for it. You're going to be very proficient in what you know before you go and deliver that to make sure you're genuinely you know what you're talking about. So I think there are these added layers of accountability that hold you accountable to really know your stuff when you hang around people that are quote unquote more successful. I really don't like to use the word successful because
Yeah.
you,
That I love that you said quote unquote successful, because success is
yeah,
very it's not linear.
yep. You just look at another area of their life and you realize, oh, they got problems there, they got
Yeah.
challenges there.
Yeah.
But I think another really important factor is that you have to know your own worth as well. And you have to know what you're bringing to the table. And I think that's so important. I think for me personally, I've done so much research and had, and it's never ending, but I've done a lot of research at this point on that very particular niche of, in a sense, you could even say just Forex traders that have challenges that then want to pick up funding. It's like that little linear part of the journey, or that little part of the journey. I've done so much research on that I can be very confident with what I'm bringing to the table. It's like what I talk about every day, all day, right? It's what I work one-on-one with clients with. It's exactly what my programs are built around. So I think I've got a little bit of knowledge on that topic. And I know that if I'm in a conversation with one of these individuals, that I can add a lot of value in that particular part, because that's what I know I specialize in. So I think it's also a factor of, you need to know your worth. You get extra levels of accountability to really study and make sure you know your stuff. But then the third little thing here is that if you just have a great set of questions, that's all that really matters. Just ask really great questions to them. And it's like, if I had the opportunity to, bump into Warren Buffett, or whoever, someone super successful, I would just try and ask him as many good questions as I could in that little short period of time. I really love, I mean, Ty Lopez is probably one of the most hated individuals on the internet. Probably, I don't know. But I really love something that he said. I remember listening to this ages ago. He said that he bumped into Elon Musk in a bathroom at a party, and Elon Musk was like, "Hey, you're the social media guy. What do you think of where do you think social media is going?" And Ty Lopez spoke for 15 minutes on where he thinks social media is going. And then he looked at Elon Musk and said, "What do you think?" And then Elon Musk said, "I think you're wrong," and then walked out and left him. And Ty Lopez was saying that how much of an idiot I am that I spoke to one of the most successful people on the planet and didn't ask him any questions. And that really stuck with me. It's like, if you get that opportunity, just ask good questions. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Just ask a few good questions. But I really found that funny, and that really stuck with me for whatever reason. But yeah,
And you know,
I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, don't compare yourself to other people. That little exercise I talked about at the start, oh man, what a profound exercise that is. Because you go realize, oh, this person making a 6-figure trade, go and find your own form of that. Now, it may not be the 6-figure trade on the individual one, but what's the action there? Well, the action is, it depends on the perception, but if I'm looking at an individual that makes a 6-figure trade, the action is accomplishing what people would classify as extraordinary in that state, right? So you want to go and find where you've accomplished something, what people label extraordinary, out of the norm in your own form, to own that particular action within yourself, and then go and find who's admired you for that, who saw you do that, who perceived you doing that, and then you realize that individual, I've got my own form of that in my own life, and that just helps you level the playing field with them. You just realize they're a human being at the end of the day, just like you and I.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this first part of the conversation. The next part is coming out tomorrow at the exact same time, so 2 p.m. London. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow we are going to be talking more about the money and the status side of trading. So make sure to stick around. It's also a very good one. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Leave a comment down below if you are still watching with this emoji right here. And let me know if you guys enjoyed the conversation and if you are looking forward for tomorrow. So see you then. Peace.